Turning now to politics, fallout from the fourth indictment, Trump and the 18 co-conspirators lashing out with Trump lambasting Fulton County DA Fani Willis on Truth Social. This while his former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, attempts to move the case to federal court. And Rudy Giuliani, once known as New York's king of RICO, now facing racketeering charges of his own and running out of money. Here to discuss the fallout and what this means for the upcoming GOP debate, which is just around the corner, is Caroline Heldman, professor of critical theory and social justice at Occidental College. Another indictment, Caroline.
Number 4, Giselle. Good morning.
Number 4. And, you know, many believe this is probably the most serious yet that he's faced. He's lashing out, as you know, on Truth Social and promising now to bring irrefutable evidence of election fraud at a press conference on Monday. This while GOP strategists warn Trump's post-indictment political resilience could falter after Georgia. What do you think?
I don't think his political resilience will falter. I think there's about 30% of Americans, about 50% of the Republican Party that is going to stand by him. They see these prosecutions as persecutions, and he has woven this into his campaign appeal. With that said, we now see his strategy. He is going to be punching back in the court of public opinion. Whatever he presents about fraud in Georgia is not going to be based in fact. It will be fiction. It will be a continuation of the big lie. But now we see what his strategy is, which is to continue to appeal to his base with the big lie.
Yeah, he's not alone, though, in this. There are 18 other co-conspirators. Mark Meadows, his former chief of staff, trying to move this case to federal court. Is this a delay tactic, or is there some merit here?
Well, I think it's both. You will have now 19 people trying to delay this case, all of whom have standing to do so. This particular move was expected. They tried this in New York, and the argument is that because they were acting as federal officials, this should be a federal case. They definitely want it to be a federal case because they'll get a better jury pool than they would, for example, in Fulton County, Georgia. But with that said, this was denied in New York. Also, they want to move these cases out of the state to the federal level where Trump could pardon himself were he elected. He does not have that power or authority in state cases. It would have to go through the state, and there's no guarantee, for example, in Georgia that he would receive a pardon from the parole board.
How likely is it that this could be moved to federal court?
Well, it was tossed in New York, or it was rejected in New York. I don't think it is likely, but it's definitely something that has a legal basis.
Mm-hmm. All right, speaking of legal basis, Rudy Giuliani used to be known as a respected RICO prosecutor, right? He's now facing the racketeering charges of his own, and apparently he is out of money. How perilous a place is he in, and how big a fall from grace?
It is quite surprising. I was in New York when he was building his reputation, and watching the evolution or devolution of his career has been actually quite sad. I think all of the co-conspirators in the Georgia case are in legal jeopardy because they have actually been named. This is the first case that names them. With that said, this is a very sprawling case. DA Willis has decided to take a very different tack than Jack Smith and even the New York prosecutor, and putting so much detail and using RICO here and calling in so many co-conspirators. This case is going to take years, and it's going to be difficult to try in a court of law.
Yeah, and Caroline, as you point out, Trump is, pushing this political persecution defense. But his rivals, Tim Scott particularly, calling the Georgia indictment un-American. Ron DeSantis even saying this is a weaponization of justice. Kevin McCarthy, defending the president. Prosecutors and judges alike say they're just following the letter of the law. Talk about, first of all, how unprecedented this is, that this is being challenged in, the court of public opinion as it is, and impacting how this is going to be, handled in court. How does this challenge our democratic institutions?
Our democratic institutions have been heavily eroded by the fact that Donald Trump and others have been going after the idea that we can't know basic facts. He has convinced a lot of folks that you can't rely on facts and news sources that are mainstreamed and researched. And at the end of the day, that means you can get folks to believe anything if they cannot rely on their own ability to suss out the facts. And what we see here is an extension of that now to the legal system, challenging our basic precepts concepts of justice in this country. And I think it's highly damaging to our democracy. At the end of the day, these judges, these prosecutors, DAs are following the letter of the law. And what will happen is we will have a jury of peers in various states and capacities deciding these cases. And if we don't have faith in that, I think, that we have a serious problem when it comes to the belief that we can have any justice in this country.
Right. You know that I have to move over to Congress now because we're running low on time. But, Kevin McCarthy is trying to put forth some stopgap measure when they come back, when Congress comes back in the House, to deal with this spending deal. We've already been downgraded by Fitch. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think we'll have a government shutdown?
Well, I think there will be another threat, and we will go through the same thing again. But neither party wants a government shutdown, and so the Freedom Caucus, the far right wing of the Republican Party, will flex their muscle. They'll get some concessions, but I think at the end of the day, hopefully, we will not have that government shutdown.
Right. And before I let you go, because you are a professor and college students, I have to ask you about Arkansas and their AP African American Studies program. It will not be counted now toward graduation. What do you think of this?
It's history, Giselle. I think that when you have a political party that is fighting so hard to not tell the history about the United States and educate the next generation about what we have done and how we bake racism into our documents, founding documents, and our practices and ways that affect us today, it tells you a lot about that political party.
We are living in unprecedented times. If I had $1 for every time I've said that, I'd be a rich woman, Caroline. All right. Thanks so much for joining us and lending us your vital expertise. I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.